You're listening to the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast. How we doing? Caitlin Clark, the MVP of today's All-Star game, is not playing. That's right. Caitlin Clark, the MVP of today's All-Star game, is not playing. The WNBA players know how to throw a party, and they know how to do it well. And now it's time, as the WNBA, they're going to take the court tonight, and we got to figure out who's going to be the MVP. Caitlin Clark, the most valuable personnel of the WNBA. I repeat that. Caitlin Clark, the most valuable personnel of the WNBA, is not playing. And I say that with an open mind to tell you not necessarily to come and say, okay, who's the best in what we're doing. We're talking about the most valuable key personnel of the WNBA is not playing. The effect it has had on the ticket price, the price of the ticket has dropped over 50%. Basically today in Indiana, if you'd like to go to the All-Star game, it's only cost you $64. Caitlin Clark can stop a supply chain all by herself. The projection of revenue, the 26% of the revenue that's generated by Caitlin Clark in the state of Indiana. Now, all of the goods and services that were going to be sold, Caitlin Clark can stop an economy. And that's basically what happened. But tonight, the WNBA All-Star game must go on. And I say the most valuable personnel because I think everybody's hung up on who's the best. But in this case here, the state of Indiana and the investment made by the NBA, by the Indiana Fever, by Iowa, and Indiana University to host this All-Star game, and for Caitlin not to play, the revenue of 50% loss is something that many corporations are going to absorb. That's why I say Caitlin Clark is the most valuable personnel. Now, when it comes to the MVP award, you've got to look at it a little differently, right? They're looking at Collier potentially to be the leading favorite, Ionescu, A'ja Wilson, and then Kelsey Plum. The star power that Caitlin Clark would have had in today's game, being at home, would have been a memory that the fans would have treasured for the rest of their lives. There's certain memories that come along in sports, such as Joe Montana, and of course, the Indianapolis Colts and Peyton Manning. The memory of where a rookie once started throwing 30 interceptions to winning the Super Bowl. Many years trying and failed because of Tom Brady in New England. But the state of Indiana had something special that they were going to bring to the table. You look at it when you have someone that has that much value, that can stop a supply chain, that can stop the goods and services. And once the goods and services been ordered, transportation, shipping, it's en route, you no longer can stop that. That just becomes a loss because you've overstocked in products of goods and services. So you look at that, Caitlin Clark being the most valuable personnel. The WNBA players know how to throw a party. They threw a party so good, the commissioner, Kathy, joined them. The main thing that really struck me with all of this in the CBA agreement, as Kathy is looking to push forward, and the owners are looking to push forward. But one of the things that really struck me is this, is all the women have college degrees. All the women are educated, and the women have to build a strength of solidarity because you can't just have 40. You need not only every player in the WNBA, but everybody to show up. And this is where Caitlin becomes Jimmy Hoffa, right? It's a Jimmy Hoffa environment. And why, Money Mike, are you talking about Jimmy Hoffa? Caitlin is an economy all by herself. Jimmy Hoffa ran the Teamsters, and the Teamsters were an economy all by themselves. And you're talking about going back in the Jimmy Hoffa territory, Cleveland, Detroit, right? But now it comes down to dollars and cents. And why do I say dollars and cents? Because the players had a CBA agreement meeting. The most valuable personnel is Caitlin, and they can show you the numbers. As the players look for a higher increase in revenue share of the salary, more roster increase, and I even heard also shorten the games. Here's a question that the owners are going to ask is how long can we keep showing that we're going to take a loss? When it's hedged with the MVP, Caitlin Clark. With Caitlin, the numbers will be rising above the roof. Now the viewership must be made accountable because one player cannot hold up the entire league. However, in this case, it's exactly what has happened. This is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast. A lot of times fans will believe one thing or another, but what you must believe is how much value each player has on and off the court. This is why Caitlin is so valuable, not to the Indiana Fever. Caitlin Clark is valuable to the state of Indiana and the success that Indiana University, Iowa University, the Indiana Fever, and the Indiana Pacers are all in on basketball, bringing it back to the Mecca, and that's Indiana. So when you look at an economy, Caitlin Clark is the footprint that can build the economy and bring the revenue in to make it the flagship and the most important franchise in the WNBA. But with Caitlin not playing and the WNBA officials allowing the physical contact, and it's not just one team, you've got the entire WNBA coaches have been complaining, and of course injuries will come. Now, with Caitlin being an economy, there's one other level that is going to be asked upon Caitlin because she hasn't played, and I see the foresight, and that's the foresight of the Unrivaled League. What's going to happen next? Because believe it or not, the Unrivaled League, Caitlin hasn't played. Will she finish the season playing 20 games or playing no games or even attempt to play in the Unrivaled League, which the Indiana Fever fans say don't do it? That conflict of interest with Collier, Breanna Stewart, that one there puzzles me because I haven't seen anything. And being in the state of California, that's an automatic no-no. You can't be an owner of a league that's in the competition to bring a player over and you're talking about wage and salary and you're negotiating for the goodness of the players that have been in the WNBA and the future players are coming. You cannot do that under an antitrust agreement because you're actually building a monopoly. So I'm understanding how much reach or a conglomerate is the WNBA of controlling the partners. Because to have that, where is the better interest of the lockout? Would it be Unrivaled would benefit, or would it be the WNBA owners would benefit? But it only one way, whichever way the pendulum swings, it's going to come back to the MVP, Caitlin Clark, the most valuable personnel in the WNBA. And if the players can reach back and say, this is the strategy of who is the most valuable, but she can't be utilized the same way Jimmy Hoffa was. And that's to get what you want, and then at that point, you go on your way. I don't know the story to tell you, but I know Jimmy Hoffa was a tough labor leader, and he fought for the men that were out there, the working man. Well, in this case, now it's the working woman, and you want to be able to receive what you deserve, but the numbers must add up, and the numbers are going to be difficult to add up if you have a one-person supply chain, and that's Caitlin Clark. The other ambassadors must join for the WNBA to be able to negotiate fairly with the owners, because at some point, the players must show they can generate revenue for the WNBA. We want to thank you for tuning in to the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast. Enjoy the All-Star Game, the festivities, everything. It's been great. And let's see if we can have a great game. And who's going to be the MVP? Well, they say Collier, Ionescu, Wilson, or Plum. We'll just have to wait and see. All things are possible to those who believe. This is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast.